we both worked in TV.
Matt doesn't have a last name.
Yeah.
No, not Matt.
Matt has to say his own last name.
I always mispronounce Matt's names. I'm
just
like,
the Matt.
This is Matt. I'm Wayne. And we both worked in TV for a long time. Matt worked in the distribution side. He used to work for Keem, and he did a lot of other things. And I've worked on, everything from Kathy Griffin. Worked on the production side, working as a producer for everything from Kathy Griffin to her My Life on the D List, to you name it, to about a lot of stuff out there. So, and we just decided one day, we wanted to do some fun projects. And as average, everyday filmmakers, like some of you guys, we said, how can we cash in and make a couple bucks? How can we take what we're doing and make a little money at it, so we're not killing ourselves with time and effort and not making anything in return. So how many of you have looked and seen something on TV, and as soon as something came up, you go, oh, I wish I could have done that, or I wish I would have done that. And and when Blair Witch Project came out, as every filmmaker out there, I kicked myself. And then later on, Paranormal Activity, and which was shot on no budget, but it just made a killing.
And a lot of porn.
It's not good money. There should be free sites now.
But
So I've looked up.
So I've heard. But as a filmmaker, how do you take that leap? What do you do how do you get your film out there? So Matt and I sat down and came up with a little business plan and started Reserve Productions. So let's do just that. Let's get out there. Julian said, "You're going to create, or you're going to make some money." Well, a little bit in the middle, but I want to make some money.
Well, and also, both of you really enjoy sort of horror films. I mean,
Yeah,
your background, you love some of that.
Yes, in a way, but
Once again, that's kind of the shtick.
yeah, exactly. And what we've and kind of the reason we went towards horror. I love horror movies, or I wouldn't be doing it. But we, does anybody know what the number one, the best-selling genre in the United States is?
I do, because
Yeah.
you've told me. Family.
Family comedies.
If you are an independent producer and you want to create a film that has the most bang for its buck,
Probability for sale.
it's family.
And number two is horror.
So if you make a family horror, then
Yeah, exactly. That's what Puppy was for.
If you're wondering, that's creature sci-fi.
So,
family films have legs.
Oh,
These kids watch them over and over again in the back of the car and all that
right,
kind of
absolutely.
horror.
So you can produce, independent producers can produce a family film and sell it. And you can go a little bit lower down the rung if you've got a lower budget. You can produce a horror movie. As long as you hit those commercial things that need, it's a checklist. Is this commercial enough to sell it?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Where does family/Christian come into the demographic? And it comes into the economic equation. It's got to be huge, right?
It's got to be huge. I mean, obviously, those guys off of Fireproof and Courageous
Yeah,
absolutely
huge.
just hit the nail on the head with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That if you know that distribution, it's absolutely amazing.
Well,
But
TD
once again,
Jakes.
it's very grassroots.
T.D. Jakes has his own production company.
Absolutely.
And Charles.
And he has his built-in audience, his congregation. So right there, that also supports him as far as distribution, the church itself.
Absolutely.
are y'all starting a church?
That's a bad idea.
But I tell you what Matt and I sat down and did. We said, okay, let's come up with something that we can commercially sell, and let's come up with something that we can sell a product, and let's do it fairly quickly. I'll be honest, we didn't have the time or a huge budget. We had a decent budget, but we didn't have a huge budget. And we said, let's do a found footage docudrama horror movie, and let's make it scary. I know how to make it scary. Let's make it where let's do it in a unique location. And we spent forever trying to find a unique location. So we sat down and came up with a plan for this docudrama. And we shot documenting the Gray Man. We shot it in 40 hours of filming. and we knew it wasn't gonna be, that's not what film festivals were looking for. It didn't have beautiful lighting, but I knew we could, it looked good, don't get me wrong, it was evenly lit, it was done quickly, but it was a docudrama horror movie that we knew that we could get out there because it was commercial. Paranormal Activity was out there. Paranormal Activity 2 was about to be released. They just released the last Exorcist, or the last Exorcism, which was a lot of hype, but a horrible film, and made a lot of money. So putting all of those together, we said, how can we, as local filmmakers, do that? First thing we need to do is have a film. So we shot documenting the Grave Man. We did it at Wedge Plantation. We were able to work a deal out with the University of South Carolina, who owns it. So we've got this beautiful backdrop, and we shot a horror docudrama in 40 hours. Don't get me wrong, it was a killer 40 hours, but we did it, and we pulled off a feature-length film, and that's what we wanted. So we pulled it off, and once it was finished, we had our screening, and we got to work trying to sell it. The next thing you know, how do you sell a film? And it's like selling a car. It's like selling anything. It's like selling, who's your target audience? Who are the folks with the money? And it took a lot of research, a lot of, these are the folks with the pockets who produce and distribute these things. How do you find that out? And once you get your list of folks you want to target it to, you've got to package, your deal and make people think that this is the best thing since sliced bread. And whether it's the best film out there or not, it's how is it packaged? And if that's what you're after, then and that's what we did with Grave Man. And we put it out there. And I brought samples of our press kit, and we'll send it around. This is kind of what the things that went out to potential folks to who are interested in buying Grave Man. And we sent it out, and that's our press kit, and we sold it to a U.S. distribution company.
When you say how it's packaged, what do you mean? We have nudity, we have this, we have that. What kind of packaging?
It all depends. It's a horror movie. It is. It's definitely a formula. Is it? You've got a checklist of commercial, low budget horror. If you know the genre, check. Do you have that? And then when you're talking about selling it, how well is you? When this guy opens the mail, what sets me apart from this big stack of stuff? And it's a good looking, and even one guy, an agent that we sent it to, and you've got to watch out, because there are folks who say they're distributors. They're not distributors. They're distribution agents, and they'll put that they're distributors, and their job is to go out and get you distribution, and they'll get a cut. So, which is not necessarily a bad thing if you can't get it distributed yourself.
Then again, another warning on that, a lot of those guys will also want you to pay them a retainer up front in order for them to go out and pitch it.
So that's how you know who they are when they start asking for all that
Well,
stuff.
not necessarily about, and that's about 50-50. So, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because those guys typically have a lot of contacts. And, if you've got somebody who will take your project and run with it and sell it for you and say, okay, we won't make anything unless you make money, then, then they believe in your product. So, it's one of those situations. How do you get, as a local guy, making a low budget independent film? It could be, any of us sitting down here doing it. How do I get it out there?